Okay, so I got some thoughts here that I want to share with you guys before meditation. This is pre-meditation. I don't know what you want to call it. Thoughts, whatever. So, wandering, like its mother Maya. The mind is of nature. Therefore, it's constantly moving, constantly changing, taking its rider from one ride to the next. But who is the rider? Do not for a second mistake the ride for the rider. The mind is the ride. The rider is, well, the rider. Unlike the rider is still, even in motion. The rider is perfectly still. Therefore, the rider is stillness in motion. The ride is just that. It's a ride. And when it's over, you can go play with other rides. Or perhaps you're done playing altogether. You've had enough, too much play. Time to go home. Eat some sweet baked apple pie. Light a little bonfire and gaze at the stars. Get some rest for a while, a long while. Until the new amusement park opens up and off you go to new adventures. So the ride is the mind. That's the ride. That's the ride I'm on right now is this particular mind. Because my body is the creation of my mind, therefore everything is the creation of my mind. So then the ride that I'm on, if you think of all of us, consciousness, one of us really, it's only one of us. If you think in terms of, you're a piece of consciousness and I am a piece of consciousness, and we're in this big amusement park and consciousness is simultaneously experiencing all these different rides, and the ride is the mind. So this consciousness here, this part of consciousness has this particular mind, and therefore it's experiencing that particular ride. But the rider is the rider. The rider is stillness in motion. The rider is the same. The rider is still. And the rider is like completely in a state of detachment from the ride, because the rider knows that this is just like a ride, and when it's over I'll go play another ride, or if I'm too bored, and I'll just go home, bake some sweet apple pie and get some very good rest for a long while. And so that's what is known as nirvana and moksha, right? Is I believe even an Indian saint that lived in the early 1900s, Ramakrishna, he as he was approaching his final moments, because these guys these self-realized beings and yogis, they don't just die, they just drop their body when they're done, right? Like they just look at it as a toy, and they don't say death there. In those circles they don't say death. That concept is just like, it's almost alien in those circles. Like, what do you mean death? They just call it drop my body. So as Ramakrishna was approaching his final moments before he was done with that particular ride, with that particular toy, he was, I think he worshipped Kali. I think it was Ramakrishna. I might be mistaking him with another saint, but I think it was Ramakrishna that worshipped Kali. So he was basically saying, Ma Kali, I'm done playing. That's what he was saying. No, those were his words. I'm done playing. I'm ready to go home now. I'm done playing. And he's done playing, same with Siddhartha Gautama, Buddha, Jesus. They're all just done playing. And that's when you go home, get some rest for a while, a long while, until the new amusement park opens up. Because this thing goes on for eternity. Okay? It doesn't stop. This play of the divine Leela, It doesn't stop. It just goes on forever. And even when you do get enlightened, you go get some rest for a while, a long, timeless while. And eventually, you come to know yourself in a new amusement park. Because you're infinite, therefore you're capable of... you're only capable of perceiving infinite things. You see, even though this actually is like, seems everything in this world is finite, and it is, yet it goes on for infinity. Because infinity is not capable of creating and perceiving of anything that isn't infinite. So this is finite, meaning the body that I'm in is finite in its current material form, and everything around me here is finite, and the sun is finite, the planet is finite. But the whole thing, the universe, goes on for eternity. It just kind of keeps going on and on and on and on. It just keeps going. Okay, and if this universe ceases to exist, there'll be another one. There are many other ones, infinite ones. Okay, so then when you're sort of done playing, you're like, you've had enough of the rides. You're just, you're like, they're just kind of, they get annoying at some point, right? Like, you just want to sit in peace, and then your mind's like, you should go get some chocolate right now. Wouldn't it be nice to watch the sunset with some chocolate? Or let me play this song on, right? And then the mind just starts to wander. Like, the mind's always playing, because it's of nature, so its game is within nature. It's constantly chasing, and it's not a pleasant feeling. It's an icky feeling, very icky feeling. That's the state of desire. That's the state of I want. It's very icky. It doesn't feel good at all. And universally, it doesn't feel good to be in a state of need, because at any time you're in a state of desire, you feel like you need something. You're not whole. And the mind is of nature. Therefore, the mind is really, it's not the mind's fault. That's just the way it is. It's part of nature, and its game is within nature. It just kind of seeks completeness from within its mother, Maya, nature. And that's the illusion. That's why Maya is the Hindu term for illusion or falsehood, or there's several names for it, several interpretations. So yet the whole thing goes on for infinity. So you might be done playing, become self-realized, and you just go into nirvana, into moksha, mukti, for eternity. You merge with the divine again. You merge with the oneness. You become pure awareness again. And eventually you'll come back to start experiencing yourself in a new form. That's the new amusement park. And it just goes on forever. It really goes on forever, for eternity. Because samsara and nirvana are one and the same. For nirvana to be nirvana, which is liberation, there needs to be samsara, something to be liberated from. You understand? How are you going to reach nirvana, liberation, if you're not in prison? If you're not bound? Then there's no such thing as liberation. For liberation to occur, for the idea even, the concept of liberation requires bondage. You see? So then nirvana and samsara are one and the same. And so as long as there's somebody to be enlightened, then there is a samsara. And so the game, it's really, when you really, really, really take yourself outside of time and space and really see the whole thing, you just like completely just see the whole thing, and you come to infinity, that it goes on forever. That you get enlightened, and then you go into rest for a while, a long while, let's say, and you come back to be again in a new amusement park. Perhaps when everybody within a specific loka, specific universe, gets enlightened, the whole thing resets again. Shiva does his dance, destroys everything, and out of that destruction, just like in nature too, out of destruction, because nature resembles the absolute. You can, by contemplating nature, you get to know the nature of the absolute more. And so Shiva gets up, does his dance, and out of destruction comes creation again, Brahma. And it comes to be again, you see, in its new form. And yeah, it just keeps going on forever. So you get enlightened, and then you go into bondage again. You get enlightened, you go into bondage again. You get enlightened, you go into bondage again, and then on and on and on and on it goes. It can't be any other way. It can only be infinite. It can only go on for infinity. And so, but once you're done with the amusement park, you're done with the amusement park. You've tried all the rides. You've tried all the rides, and that's what that's what liberation, that's what mukti, that's what nirvana, fina is. It's just a matter of, look guys, I've played all the rides, I've done this, done that, I've had like millions of lives, different incarnations in all kinds of life forms. Yeah, I had my violent urges, I incarnated as a lion 100 times, I fulfilled them, I'm done playing with that toy, I'm done with that ride. And then I wanted to experience what it's like to be a deer and like run really fast and play this hide and seek game with lions. So I incarnated as a deer for 100 times, and I'm done playing that ride. And okay, it's time to be a human being, and it's time to be this, and you just go on experiencing. And eventually you're just like, okay, come on, like, just really, I'm gonna do it again, when I go to the best amusement park that I've been to, the one which is pretty good actually, Canada Wonderland. Okay, they got really good rides. They got the Behemoth. I haven't been in so long now, so I haven't tried the new one, but they have some good rides. The Behemoth goes up to 120 kilometers an hour. Obviously it's not comparable to some of the roller coasters in Six Flags, but Canada Wonderland is up there. If you go on worldwide, it's definitely like top 30 amusement parks in the world. Really got some good rides. But even you go play, you spend the whole day there, you go from 9 a.m. and then by 6 p.m. you're just like, I want to go home. You went on the Behemoth 4 times, you went on this and that, Canadian Mindbuster, that's a good one, and then you're like, okay, those are good rides, but I'm done playing now. You acknowledge that they're good rides. It's like you acknowledge that sex is good. You acknowledge that food is good. You've had those trips. You've had your sex trips. You've incarnated as a prostitute 10 times, and you've experienced sex with every imaginable creature. You've had every food you can conceive of. And you acknowledge, but you're like, I'm done playing. It's time to go home now. I want to go home. Light a bonfire and gaze at the stars. All right, the external search is over. I'm just gonna go inwards here. I'm just gonna relax, chill, and that's exactly what it's like. Is eventually everybody just comes to a state of despair. Like, all right, I'm done playing now. I wanna go home, and that's when the journey you go inwards. When you wanna finally go home, when you finally realize that no matter how many rides you go on and no matter how much you play, it isn't gonna do it for you. It isn't gonna satisfy you. It isn't gonna do it. And that's just a realization that comes from many countless experiences, also known as lifetimes and incarnations. The amusement park is fascinating and it's huge, but once you've experienced like pretty much most of it, you're like, okay, peace out, I'm going home here. There's nothing for me to do here. I've tried to be the bad guy, I was the bad guy, I was the good guy, you play all the roles, right? You try to be the dictator in one lifetime, then you try to be the oppressed in another one. You try them all, and you're like, okay, I've tried all the rides here. All right, let me go back to the universal ride, the universal mind, and that's the absolute. That's Brahmin, right? That's Brahmin. The central theme in Vedanta. Vedanta is probably the most sophisticated, and Vedanta takes the essence of Sanatana Dharma, which is the original term, the eternal way for Hinduism. Hinduism is just an all-catch phrase, originally used to just distinguish, Muslims and non-Muslims, and it's got a long history. I'm not too familiar with the use, but I do know that the original name is Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal way. And the essence of Sanatana Dharma, the absolute essence, you could look at the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha, and you could look at Vedanta. Vedanta is very, very good. Very, very, very good. And yeah, that's Brahmin. They talk about Brahmin. That's the stillness in motion. That's the rider. Brahmin is the rider. And everybody gets bored eventually. So when you see somebody that is indulging in all kinds of food, and you see how detrimental it is for their health. They're not like, you see them, they're sick, but they're just eating. That's just a particular part of you, consciousness, that is still experiencing what it's like to be eating all kinds of foods. You see, that they're just experiencing it, and that's why, you can't really judge where anybody is. Like yesterday, I was biking and I see somebody and I could tell this person is parasitic, and he had a cigarette in his hands, and that just took me in a flashback. What is it? When did I quit smoking? I smoked for 4 years. Anyway, it's irrelevant. Maybe 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. I just kind of, honestly, the more it starts to become timeless, and every time somebody asks me what day is it today, I have to stop and what day is it? So anyway, what I was saying, yeah. So anyway, it took me back to a time where I was smoking. And I was like, wow, I didn't know at the time. I know better than to do that now, but I didn't know at the time. And I just looked at him and I was like, ignorance. It's no judgment, nothing at all. Like, zero judgment. Because how could I judge him when just a few years ago, a short while ago, I was smoking. And I didn't know. It was purely out of ignorance. I didn't know what this was doing to my body. I didn't know why I always woke up with phlegm, and why I was always have a headache and inflammation and stress and all kinds of things. And I just didn't know. I didn't know. I did not know. And he does not know. He doesn't know. And so everybody that's engaging in self-destructive behavior, that's ignorance. They don't know. And I often think if you could send people on a microscopic journey into their digestive tract, and they actually see the slime and the mucus and the nasty things that are in there, they would probably have a whole new outlook on what they put in their body. So, but that's, you just say, and you say, well, I guess that's the part of me that still wants to experience what it's like to be smoking a cigarette. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. And you're not like, oh, I yeah, you want to smoke. It's not like that fake I accept you, I love you. It's not fakeness. No, it's a total acknowledgement of, look, this is fucking you up right now on the inside. There is no other way around it. Like, you're not like, it's okay to be smoking. You're not like, that fake, you know what I'm talking about? You're faking it. Like, you're basically ignoring what is. And what is you keep smoking that, and you watch what's going to happen to your health. In fact, watch what's happening to your health right now as you smoke it. Tell me how you feel when you wake up in the morning, and all the mucus and how your breathing is. I've smoked for 4 years, folks. I know. So it's not an ignorance. It's not ignoring. It's not ignoring what is. You have to acknowledge what is. What is there are certain things that you do that are going to be harmful, that are going to be disharmonious, and certain things that are harmonious, plain and simple. But it's just an acceptance, a recognition. It's you make an observational judgment. I just made that up. An observational judgment. So you're not judging it from a place of this is right and wrong. You're judging it based on just your observing. This is what is. You look at the person, he's smoking, you're just like, well, that person's life in 5 years, if he keeps doing that in 10 years, you just see it with your third eye. You see, it's an observational judgment. You're not saying this is right or wrong. You're looking at, he's experiencing what it's like to be smoking a cigarette, and you just observe the laws of nature unfolding, because you see everything as is lawful in nature. You just observe the ride unfold. You observe the ride where the person continues to smoke for 20, 30 years, and you just see, oh, that's the ride. That's where it ends. You're not ignoring it. You're not, again, it's an observational judgment, not a moral judgment. There's a huge difference between an observational judgment and a moral judgment. You don't want to make moral judgments because there's nothing right or wrong. Consciousness created this to experience all of it, to experience disease and sickness and suffering and phlegm and asthma and breathing issues. And it wants to experience it all. So that's not a moral judgment, it's an observational judgment. Like, hey, you do this, that's what's gonna happen. You do that, that's what's gonna happen. That's nature. Look at nature, that's the way it goes. And yeah, that's not a, then you accept it. You have to accept it, therefore. You see, so you accept where you're at, you accept where everyone is, and you just say, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. You observe nature, you observe all these different rides unfolding. Okay? So these are some thoughts before meditation. I think they'll send me on a good meditation session today, because I am in a very contemplative, let's go inwards type of day, because the last couple of days were very much out in the samsara world, exploring and going on adventures, and today I just want to go in. So I want to thank all the Patreons for supporting this channel. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank all the new Patreons that have came in as of late. And you guys are absolutely fantastic. I love every single one of you. Make sure to check your Patreon feed. Okay, you might not be getting the notifications. Check it. Okay, it's always a reminder here for you guys to check. See if there's anything new that has been posted. And if you would like to pledge your support, you could do so. The link is down below in the description. You could just pledge it with $2 a month. Enough people do it. Someday I'll be able to do this, I think there's an ant in my balls. I think. Oh, it's gone. So, if you would like to pledge your support with $2 a month, you could do so. I'd like to have eventually in the future a consistent and solid foundation where I could do this full time. I also do consultations, one-on-one consultations. So if you'd like to book a one-on-one personal session, talk about how to keep ants away from your ovaries and your balls and whatever have you, or anything else, meditation, psychedelics, consciousness, philosophy, you name it, health, fasting, you name it, microdosing, you could do so down below. If you'd like to contact me about a specific video request, the contact me is down below also. All of these links are in the description. And until next time, may the force be with you.